If you're wondering how this client went from this to this, please stay tuned. Hi everybody, welcome back to Locked in Haven. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. Today we have a interesting client here, and we don't judge. Honestly, I like projects like this. It keeps me going. It definitely makes me thrilled to see what my hands can do and, really work my magic. So I'm not here to judge anybody who may be in this current situation or have a client that's in this situation, but that's why I have this video, so that we can show you and get down to it. So obviously, like usual, client is washed and blow dried. I'm gonna be honest, you guys, I don't believe he told me when his last retwist was. He has had a retwist done before. He actually started the back locks separately from the top locks. So the back locks, I noticed the parting was a much more wider than the top. So it almost looked like wicks to me. But he didn't tell me quite when his last retwist was, but I'm judging off of just what I see. It's been a while. It's been a while. And so these locks he started in the back were a bit wider, and so I had to go in with a lot of separation, like we did in the last video. I ended up just using scissors, just snipping those parts, because there was a lot of matting going on, a lot of lock marrying. There was a lot of work and effort that had to go into this client. This service, I want to say, took me about at least 4 hours to just complete. But using these scissors to kind of get through all of this really did speed up the process a bit. And usually if the locks, like if it's smaller hairs, I'll try to separate them naturally. But in a situation like this, it's like you have to, especially this part, like the top area. It was honestly, I couldn't even see his scalp. That's how much lock marrying and combining had went on. His locks in the back kind of look like wicks, so I honestly ended up cutting those, just trimming them on the side. And sometimes, just as a loctician, you have to do what you have to do. I made sure that the lock still had its integrity, but there was a lot of budding, a lot of dead hair that was just basically flattening out because of lack of maintenance. So once I did the tug test, make sure that the strand was still intact, I continued to just trim the locks, trimming them on the sides, just giving them their shape. This was very, very helpful with the compressing method that you guys will see me doing a bit later in this video. As you guys can see, I'm basically trimming the sides, tugging, making sure that his locks can still withstand, and I didn't cut any vital parts. And honestly, I knew that I didn't cut any vital parts, but this is just to assure, even with me just palm rolling it really fast, showing, making sure that the lock still has structure in its foundation, and that I didn't cut inside internally to cause thinning to the lock later. So we're going in, cleaning up these partings, making sure everything is nice and neat. I'm grateful this client was not tender-headed, because if I'm going to be honest, anybody who's tender-headed this service, you might as well just honestly cut the locks off and start over. It definitely is a tedious process and will require some type of pulling. But as you guys can see here, this is like the earlier video, just kind of showing you guys really what was going on. I was contemplating on just cutting this lock in half, but since the end, as you guys can see, is already formulated, I'm like, no, I don't want to cut this lock in half, because I want the lock to be consistent, and it's a great foundation. It's just this flat part, which is what you guys saw me clip earlier in the video, just to make sure that it looks uniform. And even me just clipping the ends of these locks, because a lot of times, sometimes you just don't need it. And I felt like this client did not need those two pieces dangling at the ends. His locks overall have a great foundation. I will never take that away. But this reconstruction is allowing me, which is great that he has a great foundation, because it's allowing me to be able to be a bit more versatile with his repairs. I'm going in with the single hook. I'm going to be using the double hook, and then I'm going to be doing my regular comb coil and going into palm roll to give the shape of the lock, to get those loose hairs in. And like I said, I don't know if I mentioned this a bit earlier, but this took me about 4 hours to complete. So, but I was excited. I was stoked to get this client together. Like I said, I love these type of projects. They really get me going. It's something that satisfies me, getting this together. And maybe this is because I'm a natural perfectionist at heart and I'm working through that. But yeah, so this is me just getting the bat together, using the double hook, and then going in with my other methods. And as you guys can see, I did focus mainly on the budding, which is really why the lock has compressed so wide, because due to not getting maintenance done either correctly or done at all, his budding basically just formed a wick. So I'm doing a lot of decompressing on his locks, and that's the main focus. Like, we're focusing on the decompressing of those locks, really getting that button together that was not handled or addressed from previous services or maintenance. You will not see me in this video do any lock reattachments. Reason being is that his hair was already, I feel like personally, dry and brittle, and it just needed, to me, the priority was reconstruction. If the hair thinned in certain parts of the hair strand and it could survive with it being cut, I did decide to clip some of them. All of them did not get clipped, but some of his locks were clipped, and it was not uniform straight across locks. This is a client that I would say is a work in progress. Even after this reconstruction service, he would need to keep up with maintenance. If he does not keep up with maintenance, this same situation can happen. And I want people to know, when it comes down to lock repairs, I feel like can be permanent but temporary depending on your hair type and your maintenance. Some lock repairs, some locticians may promise that they can fix something, and honestly, a lot of times it's not always about fixing, because it's just about maintenance. So with this client, the focus was to get the reconstruction and the decompressing of his locks together, and just, that was a great fact that I felt like I wanted to throw out there, because a lot of people, when they hear about lock repairing, yes, you can reattach locks. That's considered fixing a locks. But when we talk about thinning or hair separation or certain things where you went so long without retwist, like, this stuff comes down to maintenance. It's not a one-time fix. It could take multiple services to get your locks on track and keep them on track. If you just this client decides that he does not want to come back and get his locks done, it will do the same thing again. His locks will be separated, and I'm not going to say it's pointless effort, but hey, to each his own. And just like that, we are all done. I did not get a lot of film of the top, but same with the back. We got together, cut some things up, did a lot of crocheting. Here's the finished result. My client said this is the happiest he's been getting out of the chair. Of course, I recommended 2-strand for him, being that he doesn't get maintenance that often. But until next time, you guys, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. Bye.